There is a generation that exists in the shadows of history. They aren't the loud, revolutionary boomers, and they aren't the digitally native millennials. They are Gen X, the Latchkey Kids between 1965 and 1980. They were the last to experience a purely analog childhood, and the first to build the digital world we live in now. But if you look at the media, the news, or even psychological studies, they are often skipped over. Why has the most resilient generation stayed so silent? To understand that, we have to look at the notes they never shared. We have to look at the psychology of being the forgotten generation. Picture this. It's 1978. A 10-year-old girl walks home from school alone. She has a key hanging around her neck on a piece of string. She unlocks a quiet, empty house because both her parents are at work. She makes her own snack, does her homework, and manages her own emotions until the sun goes down. This was the latchkey experience. While it bred incredible independence, it also planted a psychological seed. The belief that no one is coming to help me. In psychology, we call this hyperindependence. When you are forced to be your own parent at age 9, you learn that showing vulnerability is a luxury you can't afford. You learn to solve problems in silence. Gen X is the bridge generation. They remember the smell of library cards and the sound of a rotary phone. They are the only people who truly understand what the world felt like before the internet. Yet they were the ones who sat in dark rooms in the 90s, coding the very platforms we use today. But being the bridge is exhausting. They had to translate the values of their parents, hard work, stoicism, and suck it up, into a rapidly changing, fast-paced technological world. They didn't have the vocabulary for mental health or burnout that millennials and Gen Z have. To Gen X, a crisis wasn't a reason to tweet. It was a reason to put your head down and keep moving. Why the silence? Because Gen X was raised on a diet of cynicism and self-reliance. They watched the scandals of the 70s and 80s and decided that institutions couldn't be trusted. Their motto became whatever. Not out of laziness, but as a shield. If you don't expect the world to care, you aren't disappointed when it doesn't. But this whatever attitude masks a deep-seated stoic burden. They are the sandwich generation. Currently, they are caring for aging boomer parents while still supporting their own children. They are the glue holding the corporate and domestic world together, doing the heavy lifting while the generations on either side of them argue for the spotlight. Psychologically, silence has a shelf life. You can only hold the weight of two worlds for so long before the cracks show. We are now seeing a rise in midlife awakening among Gen X. They are finally beginning to note that their hyperindependence might actually be avoidant attachment. They are realizing that being forgotten allowed them to build a unique identity, but it also left them feeling isolated. Gen X stayed silent not because they had nothing to say, but because they were busy surviving. They are the architects of the modern world who forgot to put their names on the building. But as we look at the notes of history, their contribution is undeniable. They taught us that you can be quiet and still be the strongest person in the room. Maybe it's time we stopped forgetting them. Because when the bridge breaks, everyone falls.